I'm Alex. This week on Big Adventures Miniature World, we're going to paint some ghosts. We started this one with a test of base coats over Vallejo Mud Brown, starting with Citadel's Dark Oath Flesh over the whole model for the first one. Moving on to Fireslayer's Fresh for the second. I can't say Fireslayer Fresh properly. And then Guilliman Flesh over the final one. I can say Guilliman fine though. Easy. Looking at the three models, it was clear that the Guilliman Flesh and the Fireslayer Flesh were just too light for what we were looking for. So we went with the Dark Oath Flesh over all the rest of the models, just to get them that nice starting dirty coat. So for the flesh tones, we started with the Bugman's Glow, Cadian Flesh Tone and Kislev Flesh, with some of the models getting a little edge highlighting of Pallid Witch Flesh. So with the Bugman's Glow, we stippled this quite messily over the models, not caring about where. It has to be quite messy for this to work. And then moved on to the Kislev Flesh, being a little bit lighter touch, being a bit more careful about where we put it. And then the Kislev Flesh over as the final on most of the models. This was a really quite picky light dabbing. Like I said before, some of the models got a little bit of an edge highlight and stippled on with the Pallid Witch Flesh, just to create a bit of variance throughout the models. There we go, he looks pretty disgusting already. Nice. Now, this is the magical step, the washes. We use 3 washes over every model. We use Rakeland Fleshshade, Seraphim Sepia and Carabard Crimson. We coat the whole thing in all 3 washes, not really being careful where we put them and letting them mix together while they're still wet. It helps it give a little bit more of a natural and almost festering look. And if you get pulling, don't mop it up, just leave it. It only helps to add to the effect. I also forgot where the camera was most of the time. There you go. Good boy. With the washes dry, we moved on to the Rusty Metallics, coating everything in a nice layer of Typhus Corrosion. Making sure to use an old crappy brush because you don't want to ruin one of your nice sable ones for this. While that's drying, we'll crack on with the bone with Zandri Dust, Shabty Bone and Screaming Skull. Using the same approach as before, we messily stipple this over all the bony areas one at a time, reducing the amount each time, starting with the Zandri Dust. Moving up to the Shabty Bone, a little bit lighter, using a more raggedy brush to get a better stippling effect. And then finally the Screaming Skull, just to add a little dot of highlight here and there. And she's looking pretty grotty now. Not too bad. So the skinny bony bits got a coat of Seraphim Sepia and Rakeland Fleshshade, the same as the robes, aiming to be more messy than clean. We don't like clean here. She's pure minging. So back to the metallics, we use my favourite rust recipe of Mornfang Brown, Scrag Brown and Troll Slayer Orange, but this time we'll add in some Vallejo Bright Brass as final highlights. So I stipple the Mornfang Brown over all the metallics quite heavily, but still letting some typhus corrosion show through underneath. Move up to the Scrag Brown for a lighter stipple, more controlled over where I actually want this to go. And then add little tiny points of Troll Slayer Orange to add a little bit of highlight to the rust. And finally we added that bright brass just to let us know that at some point these metals were shiny. Many moons ago. Nice. Rusty. Good. So all the woody bits around the model and the bases got quite a simple coast of wildwood contrast. These aren't display minis, and the robes are intended to be the main focal point of the model. This includes the hafts of all the weapons. All the plain simple bases got a slapping of the astral granite texture paste, just to add a little something on there. Then I moved around all the pre-texture bases while that was drying, picking out any bone lying about with the Skeleton Horde contrast paint. There are lots of flowers around the bases that got a wee coat of the Carroburg Crimson wash just to give them a slight red hue and add some interest to them. And then all the metallics around the bases got a quick lick of Vallejo gunmetal just to separate them from the rest of the ghosties and create some interest on the base. Basilicanum Grey contrast got slathered over all the bases. And then it got a heavy-ish dry brush of Terminate Stone over the whole base. With all the bases dry brushed, I painted my rims black and we were done, ready for battle. And here we go, 15 disgusting Nighthaunt, ready to tear it up in the mortal realms. These took an average of 15 minutes for each model, and I've also added in my glaive wraiths, which were done in the same method but with lighter skin tones. There we have it. Nice, simple recipe for painting your Nighthaunt. Look a wee bit different from everybody else's on the table. Most seem to be the standard GW black, bit of green mixed in. So these took me almost 5 hours to do all of them. Comes to about 15 minutes per miniature. In hindsight, I probably would have done the bases beforehand. That way, while that's drying, you're still getting on with everything else instead of having to wait for it to dry later on. If you like the videos, leave a little comment below. Maybe let us know if there's something you would like to see done, if there's anything new that we can attempt. Try and make it something difficult, something challenging, something we can make plenty of mistakes in, because we love making mistakes. Remember, click like, subscribe, share the video with your pals, and there is still a link down below for the beard struggle. Get in there, buy yourself some nice beardy maintenance gear. And if you use the discount code up here, Big Adventures, you'll get yourself something off. And don't forget to come back next week.